Good morning, dear televiewers, and welcome to our daily press review on CAM1 television. We are going to start this session today with a municipal update, which is already out on the stands as we speak. Municipal updates headlines today with ID card Wahala and says Bia brightens nation with 48 hours production speed project. That's what municipal updates headlines today with. Plus, the Jindal Group from India, the bosses announces construction of nation's first mineral testing lab. You can read that story today on page 5 of municipal update. Meantime, commission evaluates bilingualism practice at the Douala Port Authority. Another must-read story today on the municipal update. The Guardian Post is equally out and is out every day, of course, and headlines with exorbitant cost of identity cards. Time for lawmakers to defend the interests of the people they represent. That's what the Guardian Post headlines with. Plus talks about the CAMTEL general manager using football tournament to promote peace and unity in the Dongamantung division in the northwest region of the country. That's what the Guardian Post has in store for us, one of its major stories. Also, it says Bayak announces a design of new coins and crackdown on counterfeit producers. That's what the Guardian Post has in store today for us. Meantime, the Guardian Post also talks about voters registration in Manfe, that's in Meme, in the West Division of the Southwest region, where political parties are missing in action, and questions where are all these parties, most precisely in Meme Division of the Restive Southwest region. Now, the Advocate is also out today on the stands, and also headlines with the same news on national ID cards production process, but this time says a timely alternative plus great advantages. You can read all of this today on page 3 or page 2 rather of the Advocate. Cinema cleans Limbe beach on Seafarers Day. You can read this story today on page 7 of the Advocate. Plus, Honorable Etoke brightens Tico widows' faces on birthday. That is what could be read today on page 3 of the Advocate. There is another headline story today on the Advocate which says the CCFGA wants constitutional democracy through Justice Reconciliation Committee. And you can read this story today also on page 9 of the Advocate, which is out as we speak. Volcanic Time is also our Volcanic Times, I reiterate, and says reconstruction of iconic Moki Garage Bridge has begun. And that is in great support in Boya, and says 9 villages are to benefit from bridge project. Plus, project is to last for 6 months. Also, it also says reconstruction and widening of the bridge will ease transportation for commercial vehicles and commuters. You can read this story today on page 6 of Volcanic Times. And also, Volcanic Times talks about the Reach Out Cameroon recommits to women's empowerment, involvement, and peace processes at Maiden Women Peace and Security Fair, a story which should be read by most ladies today on page 3. Wonya Nanga villagers combine initiatives link road network in iconic Moki Garage Bridge of great support in states of dilapidation. You can read the story today on page 4 of Volcanic Times. In-depth paper is also out today and talks about the ordinance revisiting or revising Cameroon's 2024 state budget, and says government raises ID card costs. Akere Mona says it punishes the poor. That is what In-depth has in store today for us. It talks about the ID card issues, but then changes the angle this time and capitalizes on what Akere Mona has to say about this particular issue. Plus, it says rural electrification agency blazing the trail despite challenges, as Director General Musa Usmanu says the main obstacle facing the REA in sufficient resources faced with the multiple challenges to be met in rural areas. You can read this story today on the In-depth paper, which is out and understands for you to actually read. REA to act as specialized project manager for rural electrification projects in council areas. I reiterate, a must-read story today on the In-depth paper. The Voice is also out today and talks about Jindal plans for Cameroon's first mineral lab. at Ngovayang Iron Mine. You can read this story today on the Voice paper, most specifically on page 4, as the Jindal Corporation from India is already in Cameroon with plans to create a mineral lab at Govayang Iron Mine. Meantime, Kamaset U.S. Embassy brings investigative journalism to North Cameroon, as senior journalist Franklin Sonebayan re-echoes this particular story today on The Voice. Biya boosts 2024 budget by 533 billion francs CFA, accelerates the borrowing process to in Cameroon. Influencer Far Steve reignites digital drive in ICT universities. You can read all of these stories today on The Voice paper, which is currently on the stands as we speak. Newswatch is also in the market today for you to read, and Newswatch says Port Authority of Douala knocks out Bolloré in Paris court, and talks about Court of Cassation, highest court in the French judicial system, dismisses DIT appeal against appeal courts January 2023. This decision, victory opens way and empowers the Port Authority in Douala to resolutely pursue collection of share of parking penalties wrong held by DIT Corporation. You can read all of these stories today on Newswatch, which is currently on the stands as we talk. Now, SGC Bank transfers over 7.9 billion francs CFA to the SEDEC, and seeking fund allays fears amid alarming debt burden. Plus, Muslims reaffirm attachment to state institutions and peace at Feast of Sacrifice in Kumba, a story which could be read today on Newswatch, which is also out. ID cards within 48 hours, construction of ultra-modern offices to set off Bedfees rockets to over 15,000 francs CFA. You can read all of these stories today on the Newswatch, which is also out as we speak. The French papers are out today also, and we have a tradition in CAM1 to always translate these papers for our English-speaking community here in Limbe. Now, Governance is out today and says headlines today with a local development, and applauds the efforts made by Emmanuel Job Bitumu, who heads the Ebola One Council. According to Governance, he has improved living conditions in over 46 villages in his municipality alone. Also, Governance talks about the senior divisional officer of Mungu, Yves Bertanuel Njana, who decided on the field to evaluate the national road number 5, which links Douala to the west region of the country. The rehabilitation of the road is reported to cost 11 billion francs CFA. All of these stories could be read today on the Governance newspaper, which is out on the stands. Lessor is out today and says the publication of the list of lawyers who recently wrote the bar examination is out, and the meritocracy was at the center of it all. At last, respect is given where it's due. That's what Lessor paper headlines today with, and it's on the stands as we speak. Le Quotidien is out today and says the corporation in charge of public housing in Cameroon, in its acronym SIC, is accused of underperformance in the management of its projects. You can read this story today on Le Quotidien. L'Info Show is out today and says journalist Paul Mahel has reacted to the communique by the Ministry of Sports and Physical Education. You can read this story today on page 10 of L'Info Show. Eco Santé is out today and also talks health as always, and talks about the daunting task in creating a private pharmacy in Cameroon. You can read this story today on page 3 on Eco Santé. Also, Eco Santé says the skin disease known as a vitiligo affects 1 to 2% of the Cameroonian population. You can read this story today on Eco Santé. L'Equation is out today and headlines with the AGA Power Conference, which is the Association of Technical Committees in charge of the management of ports in West and Central Africa, a ceremony which has been presided over by the Minister of Transport, Jean-Ernest Masséna Galibi. Plus, the Port of Kribi made recommendations for its futuristic developments. Sunday 2 is out today, and Sunday 2 says the Minister of Basic Education, Ituningwa, is fighting tooth and nail with his collaborators to give vulnerable children access to basic education. Also, the paper talks of 19,600 of small and medium-sized enterprises created in 2003 alone in Cameroon. Quotidien Realite is out and says the International Day of the Widows was massively celebrated in the Upper Camp Division, and the president of the association, Jenna Charlotte, supported her sisters on that day heartily and affectionately. You can read these stories today on Quotidien Realite. Camaro's news is out today. Headlines with the potential candidates who might run Fecafoot agency in the Fecafoot Corporation in Yaoundé. The candidates are Abubakar Konate, Joshua Osinabangi, and Jeremy Sorel Njitap. According to Camaro's news, Samuel Eto'o might not be able to run for president again due to a probable suspension. You can read all of these stories today on Camaro's news. Le Point is also out today and says there was a burglary at the DCC office at the presidency. You can read the story today on Le Point, which is also out today. Le Drapeau is out today and says the Minister of Sports and Physical Education, Professor Narcisse Mwele Kombi, makes certain clarifications on different aspects in the organization of the Athleticism Championship 2024 taking place in Douala, most precisely at the Japoma Stadium as we speak. Innovation is out today and capitalizes on the 2025 presidential elections and says be careful with the silence of the UNDP political party as the mayor of Mayo Banyo might have hidden intentions. You can read these stories today on Innovation. L'activateur is out today, profiles His Honorable His Royal Highness Joseph Hyacinthe Ona, who has been promoted to the chairman of the board of directors at Soka Palma. You can read the story today on L'activateur, which is on the stands as we talk. Also, Le Reporter is out today and talks about government delinquents. In other words, Le Reporter attributes embezzlement offenses to what it qualifies as government delinquents, a story which might have insightful revelations for you today on the stands. You can read all of this on Le Reporter. Terre Promise is out today. It talks about the president's decision on the Douala Port Authority cases. It should be noted that a court in Paris, France, has given a verdict in favor of the Douala Port Authority. A must-read story today on Terre Promise paper, which is out today on the stands. Informa Thing is out today and says the mayor of Yaoundé 3, Lucas Ona, celebrated the International Days of dedicated to widows. The mayor showed his support to widows of his municipality. You can read the story today on Informa Thing, which headlines the paper. Le Soir is out today and says a 70 million francs CFA has been injected into National Technical Teachers Training College in Ebolowa to help with its activities. You can read these stories today on Le Soir paper, which is also on the stands today as we talk. Le Messager paper is out today and headlines with the challenges on the activity or availability of national identity cards as debates have emanated concerning the increase of duty stamps from 2,800 francs CFA to 10,000 francs CFA. That's what Le Messager headlines today. Emergence on its own part questions who profits from the tariff hikes following the price hike in the obtention of national identity cards, passports, and visas. You can read all of these stories today on Emergence paper, which is already on the stands as we speak. Mutation says the Minister of State, Minister of Justice, Laurent Esso, voices his opinion on legal issues in regards to magistracy. Also, it says famous politician Cabral Libby also questions the price hike in the creation and obtention of national identity cards in Cameroon. Cameroon Tribune is also out today and focuses on professional footballers of Cameroonian nationality who are currently on the job market looking for clubs during the international transfer window. You can read all of these stories today on Cameroon Tribune. Eco News is out today, talks about the digitalization and the security dispositions put in place by the Cameroon Customs to ensure smooth operations. L'Avenir paper is also out today and highlights the changes which have been put in place as a result of the partnership between Cameroonian Water Corporation in its acronym CAMWater and Cameroon Telecommunications Corporation in its acronym CAMTEL. You can read that story today on L'Avenir newspaper. L'Avocat is out today and said there is trouble in the house of billionaire and business mogul Fotso Victor, who is of blessed memory. According to L'Avocat, police officials have arrested Fotso Victor's children and also sealed his business offices due to some family squabbles. You can read all of these stories today on L'Avocat newspaper, which is out today. La Nouvelle is out today and also talks something completely different. It talks about the Kaji Sports Academy and Feka Food saga and brings update in detail on this particular story on page 3 of La Nouvelle paper, which is out as we speak. CAM1 Press is out today and says the Director General of the Port Authority in Douala, Cyrus Ngo, rejoices as French Court of Cassation in Paris dismisses the case between the Douala Port Authority and the French state-owned company DIT, which demanded 38 billion francs CFA be paid by the Douala Port Authority executives for prejudice. This was denied by the Court of Cassation in Paris. Plus, the Port Authority also talks about the case against the Bolloré Company, which was also won by the Douala Port Authority, as CAM1 Press reports. It is with that note from CAM1 Press that we end this edition today of the press review on CAM1 Television. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for your keen attention and keep on watching more programs on CAM1 Radio and television respectively. I was Ekome Charles Abane for presentation. See you tomorrow, same time, same place on this network.